Hello, my children. It's me, the puppet, and today I'm gonna be watching YouTube. Yes. Also to Eric, we're the sign-up series. Way! We're about with the sign-up series. Woohoo! Yes, our dreams have came true. It's finally here. We're about with the sign-up series. Isn't that exciting? Oh my god!
Is a game on Game Jolt that...
Nope, Polly! Poopy butts.
In 1996, Nintendo blew gamers' minds and released the latest iteration of the Super Mario franchise, featuring a fully 3D world that would set the tone for pretty much every 3D platformer to come. We were also introduced to a version of Mario we'd never seen before, made of polygons rather than pixels. Mario has changed a lot since Super Mario 64, but just how much? I think it's time we get reacquainted. This is Low Poly. Okay, so anybody who's spent any time with Super Mario 64, this character should be very familiar. Obviously, this is the version of Mario that was in that game, but this is also the beginning of the journey of 3D Mario. This model of Mario used in the game is made up of 752 tries. A try is basically a 3-sided polygon as opposed to a 4-sided polygon known as a quad, and it'll have 3 verts or vertices to make the shape of the triangle and then 1 face to make the try. And if you have 752 of these, you'll get this handsome chappy here. Interestingly, for comparison, the exterior of Peach's castle is made up of 871 tries. So for roughly 119 more tries, you can have all of this, or you can fit it all together and make this. Yeah. Now, in 1996, this was ahead of its time, but if you compare it to today's models, it looks kind of primitive. The first thing we should probably point out is not all Mario's limbs are joined together, and there are clear partitions between, like, the top of the arms and the bottom of the arms, and the legs and the bottom of the legs, and the whole body has a split through the middle. It's kind of ugly. It wasn't too uncommon to see this kind of thing in early 3D games, and there is a reason for it. Early 3D character models during the N64, Sega Saturn, and PlayStation 1 era were built in this segmented way, as it was easier to create animation for the character without having to deform the mesh, which would require more polygons to pull off convincingly, something we wouldn't see until the GameCube and PlayStation 2 era. The N64's limited rendering power possibility. Characters were almost always built out of separate segments that rotated independently to simulate skinning. For example, the upper arm would be its own independent model, the lower arm would be as well, and so would the hand. These segments were then fully closed and had no holes at the ends, so gaps wouldn't appear during animation. Okay, now we've got the explanation out of the way, let's take a closer look at the model. Starting off with the face, obviously they didn't model Mario's face in detail, they basically just used a texture, and it's a very small texture size at that. So bam, you slap a couple of those on, and you got Mario's face. Now that same aesthetic runs through the whole model. So everything else is just flat, plain colors. For Mario's hands, they basically just modeled a ball shape. That's all they gave him. There is another hand model for this Mario, but it's just the Fuzzy Pickles peace sign when you collect a star, so I'm not going to show it because it's not that special. And when you check out the wireframe of this model, you can see just how low poly it really is, so that's your 752 polygons right there. Now before we move on from Super Mario 64, I just have to show off this guy that you may or may not know about. Now this guy is Nintendo's way of optimizing gameplay and memory usage, and what they would do is swap out this guy for the main Mario model whenever the camera was a certain distance away from the player. Now he's roughly a third of the main Mario's poly count, so this guy is 208 tries. Now at the distance you would see this model anyway, which was kind of hard to make out, so this is a close-up. They basically just used the same textures they used on the main model, but they sacrificed a lot in the face. Now basically his nose is triangular, his hands are like big shovels, his hat is basically just, it's something else. Just to look at it, it's like a giant wedge. And his body and his limbs are basically just squares. That's kind of it, that's all they needed. I think now is a good time to state that Nintendo made this. So, you know, wow. Amazingly, this isn't even as bad as the low poly Marios get, so stick around, I got some treats for you. So now it's 1998 and Nintendo released Mario Party. Now this model of Mario is lower poly than the main model in Super Mario 64 at 406 tries. And just like the Mario 64 model, a lot of the detail is just texture work. The modeling is slightly better now, so we can see that Mario actually has a full body. It's not split in two, but if we take a look at the wireframe of this model, we can see that they cheated in joining or not joining certain elements of the body. So for instance, the ears aren't actually joined to the head, and neither is the peak of Mario's cap. But honestly, you can barely see Mario in this game, so there is a reason that he's so low poly. The difference between this Mario and the Mario 64 model is actually not a lot, so let's move on to Super Smash Bros. It's 1999, and this is the model that they went with.